Mr. Kern Saxton, thank you very much for having us.
No problem.
So what's it like to have your first feature-length movie showcased here at Fantasia this weekend?
Having my first feature here is a really, I feel privileged to be here. So far I'm having a great time. I'm really excited to see what the reaction is to it. I've heard a lot of good things about the audiences here, that they're very fanatical and very passionate. And we got a really good response at Comic-Con last weekend, and I'm hoping that things will play out similarly here. So.
Excellent. Yeah. Could you describe Sushi Girl in 10 words?
10 words? Do they have to be strung together to form a sentence?
Preferably, yes.
Okay. 4 thieves, tortured, jailbird, 6 years after robbery with sushi.
Nice.
It's close enough, right?
That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
You're having actors like Mark Hamill and Noah Hathaway they're making a comeback to the movie screen.
Yeah.
Would you consider it a signature move on your part to bring back actors that have kind of left the scene?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you'd call it signature, but it was definitely a deliberate choice to, at least with those two guys, reinvigorate their careers or rebuild their careers in a different way. I mean, they're so well known for what they've done, and I know that as an actor, when you become so well known for doing a certain thing, it sort of eclipses everything else that you do, and people really only want to talk about that one thing. And I know, like, it can get kind of taxing to just, I mean, everyone's so fanatical about it, and that's great. But at the same time, like, when you're a creative person and you're trying to achieve goals and push yourself forward and do new and interesting things with your work, it's difficult when a role sort of gets in the way of that and basically pigeonholes you into a certain, image or persona, and no one really thinks about you in any other regard. So we're hoping that this movie will in some ways represent the death of Atreyu and the death of Luke Skywalker, and these people will be sort of the phoenix that rise from their ashes and create a new life in their career, a new, open new doors for them that probably weren't open before, not because they're incapable, but because they've just been pegged as one thing that they don't see themselves as, really.
Yeah. Another quick question. The Sushi Girl is kind of a noir type of film. What was your inspiration to put together that band of criminals?
A lot of it stems from this movie, The Killing, a Stanley Kubrick movie, one of his earlier works, and also sort of mixed with Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon. Sort of have a different perspectives. It was more about different perspectives of a robbery that happened in the past, and that it sort of shifted a little away from that. But that was sort of the underpinnings, the noirish underpinnings of it. So it was definitely like that, and then sort of fused that with a lot of crime films of the 70s.
Okay.
It was really that's how it worked out.
Like an old school kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I definitely wanted a sort of a vintage, timeless quality to it. I didn't want you to be able to say, this movie takes place in this date, and, once you remove yourself from that, or years down the line, people return to it, it'll look just as fresh and original as it did when it premiered. It won't age with the time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Excellent. Would it be wrong to kind of say that the movie would be a cross between Reservoir Dogs and Saw?
Actually, when we were originally sort of pitching it, we pitched it as Reservoir Dogs meets Hostel.
Okay.
Yeah, so Saw is really a little, because the thing about the way the violence is treated, and I think yes, Hostel and Saw are sort of the same ilk, but I feel like, to be fair, Hostel's a little bit more, the torture is a little bit, well, maybe that's not fair to say, but I feel like the torture in both of those films is way more gratuitous than what we've done. Not in terms of the way it's portrayed, or not the way it's portrayed, but the way it's pulled off. But I feel like in our film, it is more of a challenge that is paid off with a reward in the final act. And I can't get more into it than that, but it's very, it has a specific purpose within the plot of the story. And I'm not saying it doesn't in Saw and Hostel, but I feel like in Saw and Hostel, those kind of movies, they became known as torture porn films.
Okay.
And so it's more about the torture and the blood and the gore, whereas our film is more about the psychological underpinnings of that kind of act.
Okay. Did you have to pull back at any point and say, okay, this is too far, we have to, dial it back down a little bit?
No, because I approached it with the idea that I didn't want to be gratuitous, that I wanted to film it in a way that was more Hitchcockian, where it forced the audience to project their own fears onto what was happening on screen. So as a result, a lot of people have said it's such a violent movie, when it's really not that violent. I mean, it's not that gory. It's not. The ideas are what are caustic. Those are the ideas are what gets under people's skin and makes them kind of freak out. But it's like Psycho, where people were saying like, oh, you see this, you see that. You really don't. It's your brain making that up. And I think that's the most effective way to do a horror movie or any kind of depiction of violence. I think it's much more effective than
the dots.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much rather show the aftermath of something or use sleight of hand to achieve an effect than have it be a practical gag or visual effects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And to finish off, what are your future plans?
I have a couple irons in the fire right now. I haven't decided on one thing or another. I'm kind of looking to see how this one performs before I make my next step.
Sure.
But I have some things that I can't quite get into right now. But I'm keeping it pretty close to the vest. So it's
all right, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and
thank you.
We wish you the best for Sushi Girl.
Thank you.